Hey, everybody, welcome into Faith in Football. My name is Neil. Today's episode is a special mock draft episode, probably at the most opportune time that you could possibly have it because we are in the meat and potatoes of fantasy starting up. This is where it gets real. Some of you have already done your drafts, some of you have a draft yet to do. We have this coming weekend, and then we have uh Labor Day. I think it's Labor Day weekend coming up, and then we get into the regular season. So between this weekend and next weekend, all mock drafts, or I'm sorry, all drafts will be done. Your roster will be set, and you will know who you've got to work with this fantasy season. Now, basically, when you boil mock drafting down, all it is practice. And if you're seasoned as I am, putting it nicely for those of you who are my age, then you remember Allen Iverson and his famous quote from his press conference: practice. We talking about practice? Yes, we're talking about practice, because everybody, regardless of who you are, needs practice. No matter how gifted you are, no matter how talented you may be in your field, you still need practice. You still need to hone your skill. You still need to get that muscle memory, so when you are in a certain position, you know what to do. It's not even a thought, it's just automatic. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's great for fantasy football, and I get it. I understand that I have to practice mock drafting. I have to practice drafting before I get into it and do the real live thing with my buddies or the people that you know online. But this is faith in football. So, how is this relative to scripture? Glad you asked. So, we look at Matthew chapter 10, verses 5 through 8, and we see where Jesus is sending out his disciples with the same power that he had, the same ability that he had to make the blind to see and the lame to walk, to cleanse lepers, to raise the dead. Don't believe me? Let's see what it says in Matthew chapter 10, verse 5 through 8, NLT version. It says, Jesus set out the 12 apostles with these instructions: don't go to the Gentiles or the Samaritans, but only to the people of Israel, God's lost sheep. Go and announce to them that the kingdom of heaven is near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cure those with leprosy, and cast out demons. Give as freely as you have received. So, see, God gave them something inside of them that he expected and commanded them to give to others. Same way that he has given each of us a certain ability, a certain talent to help others. Now, whether that be listening to someone when they have a problem, to being financially able to help people out when they're facing financial hardships, or just make use of what you have around you. If you've got a car, somebody needs a ride, give them a ride. If you've got the ability to feed them, feed them. If you've got the ability to help them out to get a job so they can have a better life, do it. Those are things that God has put in you and in your life that you can share with others. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's great. That's just one example. You know, who else, had the ability or had a need for practice? Well, let's go all the way back to the Old Testament in 1 Samuel, and we'll meet a guy who you probably know. His name's David. He was the second king of Israel, anointed when he was very young. Now, he didn't get cocky as some of us might. I mean, just imagine you're a teenager basically, and some guy comes around and goes, hey, you're going to be king. Now, you think that you might walk around with a little chip on your shoulder, a little cockiness to you, but David didn't. David still kept on being a shepherd, watching over his father's flock, and since he was the youngest, kind of got the short end of the stick from his brothers. So, what did he practice on? Well, you remember when he killed Goliath? That wasn't a first time thing for him, facing something that was bigger than he was, facing something that there was no way that he should have come out alive on that. You don't believe me on that one? Let's look at chapter 17 of 1 Samuel, verse 34 through 35, again in the NLT. This is when David went down to see his brothers who were in the army, and he brought them something to eat. And he heard this guy, Goliath, talking trash to his people about his God. And he took exception to that. And he went up to Saul, the king, and he was like, hey, I got this guy. I can take him. He's nothing. God's got my back, and I know that I can do this. So Saul looked at him and was like, you crazy. There's no way that you can defeat him. He's a grown man who's been fighting since he was young. You ain't got no shot against him. But David decided to give Saul a little resume. He said in chapter 34, but David persisted. I've been taking care of my father's sheep and goats. He said, when a lion or a bear comes to steal a lamb from the flock, I go after it with a club and rescue the lamb from its mouth. If the animal turns on me, I catch it by the jaw and club it to death. Now, that ain't a ringing endorsement of something that you should not be doing. I don't recommend that you go out and you pick a fight with a bear or a lion and try to take something out of its mouth and grab it by the jaw and try to beat it to death. But see, David could because God had his back. God was watching over him. That was what David was destined to do. That was practice for when he got an opportunity to help free his people from the Philistines and rescue them from Goliath. Because Goliath was intimidating a whole nation, a whole army just by himself. So David had practice before he went and faced Goliath. So today, we're going to be practicing not on the extreme level that David was, and we're not going to be raising anyone from the dead or curing anyone of leprosy. We're going to be mock drafting so that you can take down your opponents in your draft. And remember, God always has your back. That's the point of this whole channel right here, is to remember that even in the small things, God has your back. So as we go into the mock draft, I want you to remember that you're practicing not only for your draft, but you're practicing faith. You're practicing that even though the draft might not go exactly the way that you practice it, that God still has your back. He's still got a plan. And remember, like I've said before, that even though your plan A and plan B and C and D and E didn't work, God knows that your plan F was his plan A. He knew you were going to get there already. So don't worry about it. As we say in fantasy football, stay fluid and take what the draft gives you. In your Christian life, in your walk with God, remember, don't force it. Lean on God and let him direct you. So, we're going to get into a little news today before we hit the mock draft. Now, the news kind of hits close to home, if you know what I mean. Here recently, we had Jahan Dotson traded in division to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, at first, when I saw this, I was out with my wife and who is my tech crew, and I couldn't have a better looking tech crew than anyone else doing this, and I will go to my grave defending that. So, hi, honey, I love you. But when a news came across my phone, I looked at it and I went, she turned around and said, wait a minute, it's football related? Okay, it's good, because she knows I will go on and on, as y'all can see with this channel. Initially, I was a little upset by this, but then I remember that by Jahan Dotson leaving, that sends Terry McLaurin's value up. The thing is that I live in South Louisiana and I'm drafting with a bunch of Saints fans. So Terry McLaurin should be a little safer than he is in most places. Now, I've been drafting since May and I need a shirt, and my wife made me this one. It says redeemed. I love this shirt. So, but I need one that says mocking since May, because that's what I've been doing. So if you've been mocking for a while, you realize that the draft position, the ADP, tends to fluctuate dependent upon the news of the day. Now, this news came out with Terry McLaurin. I've seen him fluctuate a little bit, and we're going to see when we get into this mock draft how much that actually does matter. But it's something that you need to keep an eye on. It's something that you need to be aware of when you go into your draft. That's why I said in my top 10 things to know is that you need to know your league. You need to know who you're drafting with, what their mindset is. That's why it's good to be sociable. Fantasy football is a very sociable event. If you're keeping to yourself, you're not experiencing the whole thing. So I encourage you to get in that chat room, talk a little trash. It's okay. David talked trash to Goliath, but he backed it up. Okay. So keep that in mind when you go into your draft day. And remember, September 3rd is coming up quick. We're going to have a live segment from the back room of Zia, the VIP room. And we're going to be showing you how we do a mock or a real draft day with my league of record. Now, I have gotten in a couple more drafts here as of late. My Father's Day present was a subscription to the Fantasy Footballers, who I tag in basically every video that I do or every show that I do here on this channel. And I love their app. I love their tools that are available to you if you are a subscriber. If you're a member of the Foot Clan, hey, it's been a long time coming, and I'm thankful to be a part of it. I don't agree with all of the things that they say, but I do get a lot of variation because there are three of the guys. If you listen to them, you know, Jason Moore, Andy Holloway, Mike Wright, then those guys, because there are three of them, because there are so differing opinions, you kind of get different points of view from for a lot of different players. That's very valuable. And sometimes I agree with Mike, sometimes I agree with Jason, sometimes I agree with Andy, and sometimes I don't agree with any of them. But if I don't, you're going to get that news here on this channel. So make sure you stay tuned. And speaking of getting advice and, you know, what my opinions are, make sure down bottom, if you have a question, make sure that you're writing and leave me a comment down bottom. Like my boy Prez left me a comment in one of my previous episodes, and we're going to discuss that when we get into the mock draft. And my buddy Greg also sent me a message. He asked me a keeper question. Now, for those of you who don't know, there are many different setups for fantasy football. You can do a redraft league, which is what I concentrate here on this channel and what I talk about mainly. I touch very little, if any, on dynasty football because that is another level. And if you are a beginner, I do not recommend that you start out with dynasty because there's a whole different mindset and strategy behind drafting and acquisition and things like that. So you need to be in fantasy football for a little bit to really understand what's going on in dynasty. There's also something called keeper leagues. Now, keeper leagues, self-explanatory. You get to keep certain players. Now, each league varies vastly in what their parameters are for keeping players. Sometimes you get to keep one, sometimes you get to keep three. In my buddy Greg's case, he gets to keep up to four. And he texted me and asked me, who would I keep between Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, Alvin Kamara, and Kyron Williams? Now, within these leagues, there's usually a penalty if you keep players. Something like if you draft a guy in the 7th round and you decide to keep him the next year, you lose your 7th round draft pick that year. And each year moving forward, you lose an ascending draft pick. So you keep him this year, you lose your 7th. You keep him next year, you lose your 6th, and so on and so forth. Now, in his league, what his is he can keep 4 players. However, if he does this, he loses his first 4 rounds of picks. Well, very simply, Kyron Williams definitely being drafted in the first round. So he's worthy of that keeper. Lamar Jackson being taken about the 3rd round. So again, definitely worth keeping Lamar Jackson. However, Alvin Kamara is not being taken typically in the top 4 rounds. He's usually what we call a dead zone running back, which, yes, it's about between rounds 4, 5, or 6 that you're going to find these guys. Now, you can find replacement for Alvin Kamara quite easily in those other rounds. Now, Brock Purdy, you're also going to be able to replace pretty easily, and he is definitely not a top 4 round draft pick. So I advised him to keep Lamar, to keep Kyron Williams, and he would only lose his first 2 picks. Then he'd be able to replace those rounds 3 on down, and he could just take whoever fell to him at that spot. So if you would like your questions answered, if you have a question about a league that you're in, maybe you've already done your draft and this mock draft is just kind of whatever. Down at the bottom, leave me a question. Let me know what kind of league you're in, whether it's a redraft, keeper, or dynasty. I do those questions and I do have input into that. So I have some experience in all of the fantasy fantasy I guess makeups of different leagues that you have. So down the bottom, leave me a comment and let me know what your question is coming up for the start of this season. So let's go and see our mock draft here. So here's our mock draft. There we go. And let me adjust that. Alrighty. So as you see, I'm in the 10 spot, and I do recommend that if you want to draft for your specific league that you're in, that you go to their homepage. Ours is the Zeodome 2023. That is my league of record, my main league that I'm in. And then I have, of course, I'm in the Megala Bowl for the fantasy footballers, as well as local radio station here in Louisiana. So I'll be discussing some of that as well. And I'll let you guys know how I did, because all 3 of my drafts are on September 3rd. So I'm going to be a very busy individual on September 3rd. I'll let you guys know how I did in the Megala Bowl draft, because that's going to be my draft spot is going to be 11 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday morning, the 3rd. So I'll already have those results for you. And then I'll actually be doing 2 drafts at the same time, because the radio station one starts at 7 and we, of course, start at 5 p.m. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this started. Now, this is a full PPR draft. I'm only going to do the first 10 rounds. That's enough for us to get a good base and see what we're working with, because anything past that, and actually, if you listen to my boy Dusty, who was in our previous episode talking sleepers and busts, which if you haven't looked at that one, definitely go back and check that out, because I do have to make a small tweak to that. I did list Josh Jacobs as a bust this year with the new Green Bay Packers, because of the committee backfield that he's going to be in. However, We just got word that A.J. Dillon and Marshawn Lloyd, the rookie running back that they just drafted, are probably not going to be available because of injury for at least week 1. Now, we're going to have to keep an eye on that, as well as Nick Chubb, who has just been listed on the PUP. He's been listed on the PUP, but word just broke today that he will be starting the season on the PUP, which is the physically unable to perform list, which means that he's going to be missing at least 4 weeks of the regular season. So if you wanted to draft Nick Chubb, I strongly suggest that you pivot from him and go to Jerome Ford. So take a look at Jerome Ford. He is definitely going to be very highly coveted as a running back for the Cleveland Browns. He had a very good season last year when he was filling in for Chubb after Chubb just totally destroyed his knee in week 2. Kind of broke my heart because I had Nick Chubb and Saquon Barkley last year, and both of them I lost early to injury. Thankfully, Saquon was not as bad, and I was able to get him back after a couple of rounds of trading where I traded him away, and then I got him back, and it was a whole mess. You had to be there. But anyway, so we're going to go ahead and get this started. So, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, and there we go. So we're going to go ahead and mute this. So I don't think y'all want to hear all of that mess. So Bijan's gone, CMC's gone, and Jonathan Taylor's gone. Now, this is very interesting. Now, I'm sitting here at the 10 spot with Breece Hall still on available in my draft. This is a gift. There is no question that if I'm sitting in the 10 spot and Breece Hall falls that far, I'm smashing this. Because my personal opinion, Justin Jefferson, there is no way he should be going second in anyone's draft. His quarterback situation is absolutely horrible right now. JJ McCarthy, the rookie quarterback that was giving you some kind of hope, is gone for the season, and Sam Darnold is his quarterback. Now, Tyreek, Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Bijan, CeeDee Lamb at number 1, I'm fully behind. No problem with that right there. I do take exception to Jonathan Taylor being drafted above Breece Hall. So we're going to go ahead. We'll take Breece Hall. And then we see Garrett Wilson, Jamar Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, and Marvin Harrison Jr. go off the board. Now, let's take a look at wide receiver. Now, there's nobody here that I personally would take over what is left at running back. Okay. So I've got Breece Hall and I see Kyron Williams just sitting there. Now, this is what you call a high testosterone start to a draft. When you're going running back, you're definitely going with a hero RB approach. Now, this is just how it fell this time. I know last time I purposely did running back with Blaze, but this time, this is just how this fell. Because I'll tell you right now, if Amon-Ra St. Brown had fallen to me at 10, I definitely would have smashed that. If A.J. Brown had fallen to me at 10 and Breece and Bijan and CMC were all off the board, I would definitely have to think about that. Now, the only other running back that I could see making me have a question about this would be Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay. If Jahmyr Gibbs was still on the board, he's definitely somebody that I'm looking at. But with Breece being there, I like that upside there. And the ball is definitely going to be distributed. Jahmyr Gibbs still has David Montgomery behind him. And my boy Pez, he brought this up, and this is something that he was dealing with, and he sees himself asking all the time in his drafts. He is torn between Jonathan Taylor, Jameer Gibbs, and Saquon Barkley. Now, I personally told him this is that Jameer Gibbs and Saquon Barkley, that's a coin toss for me. Okay. Jonathan Taylor, look, I know that there's a whole lot of hype behind him, that the anticipation for what we saw when he was healthy was just off the chart. And it is being shown here with him being taken at the 9 spot. But if forced to do it, I would have taken Jameer Gibbs or Saquon at the 10 instead of Jonathan Taylor. There's no way that I'm taking any guys above Breece Hall. But if forced, and I'm going in with the mindset of I want to go hero RB, my hero RB would be a coin toss between Jameer Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, with Jonathan Taylor probably being my second round pick if he fell to me there. So, with that being said, Kyron Williams still here. Look, the Rams are awesome. The Rams offense for fantasy football is off the chart, and they might have taken a little bit of a dip in their defense by losing Aaron Donald this year. So I'm going ahead. I'm going to go high T, and we're going lock up our running back positions for this one. Now, I see Travis Kelce here in the second. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, that is normally just the AI talking. That's not what's going to happen in your regular drafts. Normally, what I've been seeing, I've been doing a lot of mock drafting on with just real people, not AI, because it's been driving me nuts that tight ends are going as early as they are. So Laporta, Kelce, that's a coin flip. I've been seeing Kelce creep up and overtake Laporta. I think it's just a lot of hype and a lot of people who, when they're doing the ADP, if you understand how the AI works, how the ADP is adjusted, the more people that are doing mock drafts, then the more movement you have for each player. Now, each site, whether it be ESPN, Yahoo, Sleeper, wherever you're drafting from, then each platform is going to have a different ADP for each player. So Kelce might not be valued as high here as he is in ESPN or vice versa. So you have to be aware and do your mock drafting on the platform that you're actually going to be drafting in that league. You might have different leagues. You might have one on ESPN, one on Sleeper, one on Yahoo. Make sure that you're doing your mock drafts for that league on that platform. Okay. Now, like I said, Kelce, Laporta, I haven't seen them going that high. I've seen them Kelce, late third, early fourth, maybe a little later. I've seen McBride going in the fourth consistently. So Kelce and Laporta probably going in the third, but it's a little later. And then you'll see McBride going late in the fourth. So here I'm looking at wide receiver. I've got my running backs locked down. I don't have to worry about those dead zone running backs that just drive you crazy trying to keep up with. So I'm looking at Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Michael Pittman. Now, you'll notice that I picked 4. Well, let's go 5. DK Metcalf. Okay. So these guys right here are my next 5 on the ADP. But don't just look at ADP when you're doing this. Scroll down here. Oh, scroll down a little too far. And look at who you're going with. Okay. So Malik Neighbors is down there as well. Devontae Smith. Now, I want to show you here real quick, and we'll see if we can pull this off. Well, I'll tell you because I don't really want to want to do it this way, but if I were going to go early stack and stack my quarterback and my wide receiver, I would probably go ahead and you would have to reach a little bit with Michael Pittman, and then you would have to come back and take Anthony Richardson. So you could do that, or what you could do is you could take Devontae Smith with your fourth, and then maybe come back and catch Jalen Hurts in the fifth. But what you would probably more likely have to do is you would have to catch Devontae Smith here in the third, and then come back with in the fourth with Jalen Hurts. Now you would be reaching on both, but Jalen Hurts is definitely going early, as we're probably going to see here in just a minute. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stay with what I've been doing in my mock drafts. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Jalen Waddle as my one. And we see right there, Jalen Hurts going real early at the back half, at the last pick of the third. So, it's a good thing we didn't take Devontae Smith there, because we would have been out of luck with trying to take Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith. Now, Metcalf is off the board. And let's see, we got DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Michael Pittman, and Malik Neighbors. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I'm in this position, DJ Moore, yeah, he had a breakout with Justin Fields last year, but Justin Fields is gone, and he's got a rookie, Caleb Williams. And anybody who has watched Caleb Williams in the preseason has seen an absolutely phenomenal rookie quarterback doing phenomenal things. Now, here's the thing. He does not have a specific receiver that he has to go to. He's got Keenan Allen. He's got DJ Moore. Okay. He's got weapons around him. He's got Roma Doomsday. Okay. So having that many targets, DJ Moore is probably not going to get as much targets as somebody like Michael Pittman, who is the clear alpha on the Colts. Somebody like Cooper Kupp. You got Puka, who's been dealing with injury. Now you see that he went in the second here with Team 7. But for me, everything that I've been hearing is that the offense is going to run through Cooper Kupp. Okay. So you can do that, or depending upon how much risk you want to take, you can take Malik Neighbors, the rookie wide receiver with the Giants. He is incredible talent, but he is a rookie. So here's what you're stuck with at this point. Do you go Cooper Kupp, an older veteran wide receiver who knows the system, is a favorite of Matthew Stafford? Do you go with Michael Pittman, who has been steady Eddie throughout the entire career that he's had? Or do you go Malik Neighbors and just have risk upon risk upon risk, but very high upside if you hit on him? Or do you reach on Devontae Smith if you believe that he is going to have a bounce back year this year? Me personally, I'm going Michael Pittman, just for the simple fact that I've already got Jalen Waddle. So having Waddle, that's a little bit of a risk there, because he had dealt with a small injury this preseason, but nothing to concern yourself about. However, his quarterback, on the other hand, is pretty much one concussion away from being out of football entirely. So I'm going to go ahead and take Michael Pittman, because I know that Joe Flacco is the backup quarterback to Anthony Richardson. So I'm not worried about that. So let's scroll this down a little bit. And we see DJ Moore gone, Alvin Kamara in the fourth, Cooper Kupp, Cook, Stroud, Devontae Smith, Joe Mixon, Malik Neighbors, Walker, Kenneth Walker, running back for Seattle, going here as well. Trey McBride, Tank Dell, Amari Cooper, George Pickens, and then we have a run on tight ends 4 in a row to where we go Andrews, Kincaid, Kyle Pitts, and George Kittle. Now, in a real draft, when you're looking at this and this happens and you're on the back end, this is what you're left with. Evan Ingram and Brock Bowers and David Njoku. That right there is Evan Ingram is probably the tier break for me. Now remember, I told you before that I strongly encourage tier-based drafting. That's TIER based drafting, where you have guys who are of similar talent, of similar production profile, and they are projected to have a certain level of production that is equal among them. So guys like, if you go up here and you see Lamb, Hill, Chase, those guys are in a tier. And then you've got Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, and just for simple talent, I'll throw Justin Jefferson in there, although I believe that Jefferson is more down the line around Wilson and Harrison and Adams. So take that for what it is. But those are the top 3 tiers that I see in the wide receiver position. So coming down here at the tight end position, I see Kelsey and Laporta in a tier by themselves. Then I see McBride, Andrews, Kincaid in another tier, and then Pitts, Kittle, Ingram. Okay. So with that being said, I'm not that big of a believer personally in Trevor Lawrence. So I'm kind of going to lay off of Evan Ingram. I'm also going to lay off of Brock Bowers because same reason I'm not big on Devontae Adams is because of his quarterback play and the fact that they're a run first team with the head coach that they currently have, Antonio Pierce, with the Raiders. Then David Njoku, not really sure who's going to be throwing him the ball simply because we don't know what Deshaun Watson is. And I really didn't like the ride without Joe Flacco in Cleveland. So everyone knows that I'm not drafting a Cowboy. So Jake Ferguson is out as well. And I'm not taking a tight end this high. So you got to look at the talent that you're passing up. So right now I've got 2 wide receivers and 2 running backs. So I'm pretty balanced right now, but I don't need to take another running back for a while. Okay. So the next guy up, I would say, would be T. Higgins. So let's take a look at quarterback real quick. Anthony Richardson, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott. I'm fine with any of those guys. If you want to take Kyler Murray, Jordan Love, any of those guys right there. So from Richardson down to Love, I'm fine taking any of those guys. Now, if we look at the board, the 2 teams after me already have quarterbacks, so I'm not worried about that. Then you have Jackson, Stroud, and Allen, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams after me that don't have a quarterback. So if I'm going to take a quarterback and I want a guy that I want, then I'm definitely going to be taking him in the 6th. So right now, I'm looking at T. Higgins. So going around there, and we see Ramondre Stevenson, Aaron Jones, Keenan Allen, and DeAndre Swift, all going off the board. These are your dead zone running backs, guys, right here. So round 4, we see Mixon, Cook, Kamara, White, Jones, Stevenson, Ken Walker, DeAndre Swift. Those are all dead zone running backs. So if you went wide receiver early, these are the guys that are going to be available to you at this spot. Okay. So what do I want to do? Do I want to go ahead and take the quarterback that I want? Now, here's the thing. If you think that you want to stack up any of these guys, I've got options. And this is the great thing about going wide receivers this early in this position. You got Jalen Waddle, you got Michael Pittman, you got T. Higgins, which means I can wait on a quarterback and get Tua. I can right now pull the trigger on Anthony Richardson. I could pull the trigger on Joe Burrow. Or I can go on down the line and maybe pick up Dak or Kyler or Jordan. But if I don't pick a quarterback right now, I'm going to lose out. I'm not going to get my stack because those quarterbacks that I want are going to be gone. So, what do I want to do? I don't believe in Tua. I I just I know he's going to start quick, but it's how you finish. Now, starting quick is helpful, and if you want to go Tua, that's great. I do recommend that you keep an eye on his schedule and his health. And you might want to have a nice backup to go behind him, or use him as a backup and pick one of these stronger quarterbacks before him. Personally, I like the T. Higgins, Joe Burrow stack because I also get a little insurance against whoever has Jamar Chase. So I'm going to take Joe Burrow. And then we see David Montgomery, Anthony Richardson, James Conner, Christian Kirk, Najee Harris, Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Roma Doomsday, and Terry McLaurin to round out the 6th round. Coming back, Prescott's gone, and Pollard, uh, Javonte Williams. I don't see why Javonte's going this high. There's a lot of hype going around him. So see, we're going to pause here for just a quick second. All right, we're going to pause here for just a quick second, guys. Okay, guys, sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulty. So let's get back to the mock draft. All righty, so here we go, guys. So we're sitting here in the 7th round. Now we've got our there we go. We've got our quarterback, we've got our wide receivers, and we've got our running backs. So let's look at our tight end. Again, Evan Ingram is still there, but right now I'm looking at running backs. So let's see what we have. No one of consequence that I'm really, looking to scoop up. This is where my buddy Dusty was talking about. This is where you start taking shots on guys that you believe in. So somebody that I'm believing in, I said that he was going to be a sleeper. So Keon Coleman building that depth at the wide receiver position, and we see Brock Bowers and Evan Ingram off the board. And then we see Jordan Addison. Now, look, Jordan Addison wasn't anything with Kirk Cousins, or wasn't enough with Kirk Cousins. I seriously doubt he's going to be anything with Sam Darnold. So passing on him, I'm totally fine with. Taking a shot on a rookie that the team believes in, I'm better with that with Keon Coleman. Austin Eckler. Interesting that he's going before Brian Robinson Jr. So apparently the community thinks that he's going to be something in the Cliff Kingsbury offense, but that's a TBD. That's going to be to be determined. Now, one guy that I definitely think is worth a shot here, I would normally say Deontay Johnson, just for the simple fact that I believe he's still got juice and he's still going to be a factor in Carolina, but he is dealing with injury. So somebody who's not dealing with injury is JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now we also have Lad McConkey up there, but McConkey is dealing with injury as well. And Hollywood Brown, I was really high early in the season on Hollywood Brown, but then he got hurt as well, and we're not sure when he's going to be back. D-Hop is also dealing with injury. So this is what I'm talking about looking down the road here. Let's see. Now we see I'm sorry, I didn't go over wide receivers that were gone. Calvin Ridley, Rome Doomsday, Christian Kirk, Terry McLaurin, Rashid Rice, Jalen Reed, and Xavier Worthy. Rice is steady rising since we're getting so close to the start of the regular season, and him not being reprimanded for any legal issues. So with him not being reprimanded with any legal issues, his stock is rising. Now, by taking Joe Burrow, these right here are all the guys that I missed out taking. So was it worth it? This is what you do when you mock draft. You go with the plan, you work it, and then you go back and you go, okay, would I have wanted X whoever in this spot? So if we look at quarterback, Kyler Murray is still there. Jordan Love is still there. Brock Purdy is still there. Tua is still there. So if I had wanted to to stack Tua and Waddle, I could have and still had the insurance against whoever had Tyreek Hill. But that wasn't the route that I went. So I went with Burrow. I missed out on McLaurin. I missed out on Rice. Those guys, I believe, are going to be really, really good this year. So I'm liking getting getting those two players there with Team One. As we sit right now, let's go to wide receiver. And I'm going to go ahead and take the guy that we were just talking about, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I like what I'm hearing coming out of Seahawks camp with having the new offensive coordinator and the new head coach from Washington, the Huskies. So let's see how we fall here. Njoku and Ferguson as tight ends are gone. And then we get Brian Robinson Jr. going a full round after Austin Eckler. So I think that Brian Robinson Jr. is being extremely undervalued, and you can take advantage of that in your draft. So if you see Brian Robinson falling and you're trying to build depth at the wide receiver or at the running back position, this is a good guy to target. Jalen Warren is another one that I like going late. So I've only got 2 running backs, and I've got 5 wide receivers. So let me go here. Now, a guy that I'm real big on, and the fact that I have Kyron Williams in this draft, this is what you call handcuffing. Now, you don't handcuff wide receivers, you only handcuff running backs. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to check out all. I'm going to look down here and see what's going on as far as my all here. Sorry about that. The technical difficulty we have is that my battery was dying. So let's go down here. I really don't think that my target is going to disappear by that time. So let's check this out. Wide receiver. Now, here's an interesting pick. Jameson Williams. This is a pure dart throw. The talent, I believe, is there. I loved this guy when he came out of college, but he's been plagued with injuries. But if he pays off, and because I've already got 5 wide receivers, this guy is just a dart throw. He's a risk that has a high payoff. He's on a really good offense that should probably lead the league in scoring. So I'm going to go ahead and take Jameson Williams here, and let's see what happens. I'll let you guys know if my target is taken. Nope. Trey Benson, Gus Edwards, and Zeke Elliott, along with Dallas Goedert at tight end, are gone off the board. And my target at running back this late in round 10 is still there. So Blake Corum is my handcuff to Kyren Williams. So if you're the Kyren Williams manager, you definitely want to go ahead and take Blake Corum before you leave the draft to make sure that you're insulating yourself against that. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Something that the ballers say: play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Taking a handcuff at Blake Corum right now, I missed out on my target at tight end, which was Pat Freiermuth. So let me take a look, and we're in the 10th round, or the 11th round. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to call it quits on this one after I make this pick. You're basically going to be left where, and this is what happens when you wait this long on tight end. Now, I will tell you this: whoever picks TJ Hawkinson, you better have an IR spot and you better have a backup tight end for this position. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's take a look at quarterback. So Matthew Stafford is still there. Kirk Cousins is still there. Because I have Jalen Waddle or I'm sorry, T. Higgins and Joe Burrow as my stack, I don't need to stack up again. I'll go ahead and take Matthew Stafford as my backup. And this is what you call punting the position when it comes to tight end. So Luke Musgrave off the board. Now, this is something that I don't recommend that you do, but I'll tell you this: I'm not going to make any more selections. I'll just tell you what mine would have been at this time if I've gone this long in the draft. I've missed out on all of these tight ends, and this is something that you're not going to see in your regular draft. Your regular draft, nobody is going to double up. Sorry, nobody should double up on tight ends. So team one taking Njoku and Kmet, not really going to happen, or shouldn't happen. And then you've got this team here with Kincaid and Dalton Schultz. Again, not going to happen. Then you've got Kelsey and Pat Freiermuth here. Not recommended. Okay. Anybody who's carrying two tight ends and you only get to start one, you're just wasting a roster spot. So my tight end would have been here at the Matthew Stafford pick, and I would have taken Stafford here at the 12th spot. So let's see. Go ahead and I'll pause. We're in this draft. Okay. So that's a mock draft for you guys going into this coming weekend. I wish you guys all the luck in the world. And remember, down at the bottom, subscribe, like, share, and don't forget about my sponsors. Zia of Lafayette. You can find them at 235 Duce Road in Lafayette, Louisiana. Remember, if you need to call them for catering, the phone number is 337 406 0013. But remember, if you go in and you're dining and you want a free appetizer, all you got to do is whip out your phone, show them that you subscribe to my channel, and you will get a free appetizer of your choice for the table. Now, remember, this is for a table. It's not, can't have four y'all and stuff like that. So one appetizer for the table on me, as long as you show them that you subscribe to Faith and Football. You go down there and you say hi to Leonard and Heath and Tucker and all the guys. Tell them Neil says hi. And who knows, I might be down there too. But definitely go down there, check them out. Look, we got some pretty new plates coming out. We actually have a brand new item on the menu. And I'm not exactly supposed to tell you this, but starting tomorrow, and we're sitting here, I think it's the 26th of August, starting the 27th, so starting tomorrow, we have brought back the much demanded pesto trout. So if you want to get down there, try a free appetizer on me and get some pesto trout. Go down there, tell them Neil from Faith and Football sent you, and I'd be more than happy to say hi to you if I'm there. Uh, Also, don't forget about my boy at Alpha Barbershop Company in Lafayette, Louisiana. He's the one that's got me looking all nice and good and stuff, and not wearing a hat on this show. So that's my boy Nick Reed. You can find him, like I said, at Alpha Barber Company, 4519 Johnson Street. Give him a call, 337-345-8233. Give him a call, make an appointment, go down there, and he'll get you looking fresh like I am. Probably better. So, look, this guy takes his time, and there ain't a hair out of place once you out of his chair. He won't let you leave if there is. Okay. Also, make sure that you're going down and you're checking out my boy Dusty down at Keller's Bakery in Youngsville. If you missed the episode with Dusty, go back and check it out. It's a Sleepers and Bust episode, Sweet Sleepers, Sour Bust, and make sure that you check it out because Dusty tells you on the show himself that if you go down there, you show that you subscribe to the channel, just like at Zia, you get 2 free cookies from Keller's Bakery. And these things are phenomenal. They are off the chain, guys. If you haven't had a Keller's Bakery cookie, you don't know what you're missing, but it's got to be the one in Youngsville, Louisiana. You can find them at 627 Lafayette Street in Youngsville, Louisiana. Make sure that you go down there, check them out Tuesday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And like it said in the show, remember, if you want a king cake, regardless of what time of year it is, it doesn't have to be Mardi Gras for you to get a king cake. And if you're from out of town and you find yourself in Youngsville, Louisiana, or anywhere in that area, go down there, check them out, and you need to get you some king cake in your life. It is delicious. So go down there and check them out. Tell them I sent you, and you get your 2 free cookies. No purchase necessary. Just walk in and show them your phone. Show them that you subscribe and get your free sweet treat on me. Now, last but definitely not least, my boy Bradley down at Amis Grocery in Lafayette, Louisiana. You can find them at 603 Jefferson Street inside of Gordon Square, downtown Lafayette. Make sure you go by and see them. They are awesome when it comes to local vendors. The muffalata is out of this world. Go down there, check them out. If you like freeze-dried candy, even if you haven't had any, go down there and check it out. It is off the chain. Make sure that you request the ice cream sandwich because they're always running out, and I'm always telling them to order more. So I need some help on this, guys. Go down there and check them out. Tell them that they need to get more ice cream sandwiches down there. They have over 200 different local items from over 50 local vendors. They got farm fresh eggs, beef, pork, you name it, they got it. Go down there and check them out. And it's Amis Grocery, 603 Jefferson Street, downtown Lafayette, Louisiana, inside of Gordon Square. So, guys, I hope you had as much fun as I did on this one. If you've got a draft coming up, down at the bottom, hit me up with any questions you have. If you want to see me draft from a specific spot, let me know. Give me the parameters down at the bottom after you subscribe, like, and share. Then tell me where you're drafting from, where you want to see me draft from, and whether you're full PPR, half PPR, standard scoring, whatever the case may be. And I'll set it up and we'll do it live or we'll do it on this show just for you. So hit me up, let me know, and I'm here for you guys. So if you got questions, bring them on and keep them coming all season long. You never know whose question I might pull out. You might be like Pez and get it answered here on on the show. You might be like my boy Greg, who hit me up with a keeper question. Doesn't have to just be redraft. I'll take them all. So, guys, remember, subscribe, like, share. Keep tuning in. Let me know where your draft is. Best of luck. And remember that football is good, but God is greater. Love you guys. Have a blessed day, and we will see you next time on Faith in Football.